All right, chat. All right, let's get down to it. I think you guys are all here. Obviously, tonight we have a very special stream. Something I've actually never done before. I'm going to be doing a top 10 of 3v3. So, if you guys don't know, recently the NBA 2K League had qualifiers. It was basically where you basically qualify for a 3v3 tournament to play against the pros. The winner of each of the qualifiers walks away with 2,500. So congratulations to 2K Twins and them. They did win one of the qualifiers. I know A and them won that other one. Let me actually get that roster in front of me right now. But basically, what happened was they won the other qualifiers on the other side. So the way they did it is they had two qualifiers on each side, qualifier 1 and 2, 23 teams on each side of the qualifier. So the team consisted on one side, it was Floozy, A and Real KJ. Congratulations to them for making it through. Also, congratulations to 2K Twins and those guys. They also made it on the other side of the qualifiers. But we also found out some news today that all the runner-ups that were playing in the final. So originally they were only going to put. I'm pretty sure they were only going to put the two teams from. So they were only going to put two teams from each console, meaning only the winners were going to go in. But today we had some news broken that also the runner-ups in the finals for both qualifiers are going as well. So. I actually saw today Stage Goated posted an email that he got that he will be playing in the Slam tournament. So, if you guys don't know about the NBA 2K League, now they have 3v3. 3v3 to where you can compete in a qualifier and then make it to play against the pros for big money. So, if you win the qualifier, you get 2,500. But after you win the qualifier, you're then put into the Slam tournament that all the pros are playing in for $100,000. There's $100,000 in prize pool money. Yeah, but it's again. I've been having to take Milton on recent nights to fall asleep. I'm grateful you're bringing Mar on the call. It's making fall asleep a lot easier. Oh man, I love the jokes. But anyway, let me unmute Mar real quick. Let me just unmute him real quick. What's good, Mar? I want to welcome you to the stream. I want to congratulate you on your new position. I want to congratulate you on that, man. How's it going?
It's going good. Appreciate it.
So, coming into your role, is there really are you allowed to explain kind of what your responsibilities are now? Because are you big involved with 3v3, or do you have a vast role? What is your role with the NBA 2K League?
I'm pretty much on the social team, so I'm in charge of helping get stuff out on the social side on all of our platforms, but
Okay.
I do give feedback in other areas as well.
Mm-hmm. So you're somebody who comes from the 3v3 scene, and I think you know it a lot better compared to me probably at this point. I got a chance to watch quite a bit of the qualifiers. I got to see some series. Some teams I got to watch a lot, and some teams I didn't. So I appreciate you coming on here because I definitely need the help of kind of again, you don't have to essentially make the list, but it's nice to hear your feedback from somebody who's been involved in the scene. Maybe there's something I'm not understanding. And the one question I actually have is, so I always thought that you should always prioritize threes in 3v3, but I noticed a lot with teams
For sure.
but I noticed a lot with some teams in this tournament, like the 2K Twins. I watched them throughout the tournament. They, instead of taking a higher rank, because I've been tracking the stats for this tournament, instead of taking more threes, they were taking a lot more safer twos. Why would a team do that compared to the traditional way of going for more threes than anything? Because I felt like a lot of teams, they kind of gave up bad shots just because they wanted to go for the three instead of the two. So why would a team do that?
So I think it just depends on personal preference. So the 2K Twins, for example, their team, they have a lot of chemistry. So I'll just point back to when I was playing with Greens and Lyle. I would always tell them just take what they give us because I knew when it came down to getting a stop, I trusted us on defense. So I feel like that's the same thing with the 2K Twins. So they have a lot of chemistry. So when it comes to them, they're just going to take what they can get. because they can rely on their defense to get stops. So when you have teams that trust their defense, you're gonna notice that they'll pretty much just take what they can get. But other teams who's not really like good on the defensive side, they 300 a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I also noticed some teams like there's some like was in this tournament. Was there a surprise, like a lot of surprises to you of teams that like won and lost? I know this is only the Xbox side, but like based on
Hmm.
your perspective of this tournament, like was there a lot of upsets? Because for me, I see some teams that were hyped up, like obviously Greens and them lost their series.
Right.
I know that I don't know how great IQ Contained is at 3v3, but it did look like his
Right.
team kind of sold him, and it was kind of shocking to see him lose in the first round. But he lost to the team that I'm pretty sure went all the way to the finals, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, I'm sure he can hang his hat well on that. But like, what is your thoughts on some of these games? Like, what was the biggest upset in this entire tournament in your opinion?
Um. Uh. That's a good question. I'm gonna be honest, champ. Like I don't really think like Greens and them losing was an upset. I really think like they came into that series and they underestimated. If you
Mm-hmm.
go back and watch the stream, I was on the stream with Joe and I was telling Joe like Greens and them can't afford to underestimate this team. Like plays threes every day, and they
Mm-hmm.
came out there and did what they had to do. So I don't really think that series was an upset, but um, I was a little shocked about Chris Paul them losing in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I don't really know if there was any like big upsets. IQ, I really didn't expect him to come out there and
Yeah,
make any noise because this was probably like his first time getting involved in like
the competitive end,
a
you would
big,
say.
yeah, for sure. So I didn't really expect him to make any noise, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean, this was the first time we've like again we've had obviously Toxic and Eyeball host their tournaments, but this is the first time we're truly seeing like a big event being hosted. I have to say, very good job by everybody behind scenes. I know there's a lot of work that's done that might not be seen to the public, so I just want to say good job. I didn't hear too many headaches, too many issues. Sounded like it
sure.
was a very well ran tournament. Um, I want to ask you from a viewer perspective, you
Hmm.
know, what do you think like the impact of 3v3 will have on the NBA 2K League? Do you think it's going to be something to where it creates like a new avenue?
Honestly,
Go ahead.
yeah, my bad. I think you even tweeted the other day like. I think it's gonna help a lot just because it's so fast paced. Like
Hmm.
it's fun to watch, and I think once people give it a shot and just give it some time to really like watch and to see the gameplay, I think people will enjoy it over time.
Hmm.
I really think people will. So I think it may take some time to get used to, uh, coming from like a league side, but I think people will like it over time for sure.
Yeah. So for a lot of the YouTubers, so we know that a lot of YouTubers don't go for the league essentially because maybe one they don't like 5v5 and all this stuff, and 3v3 is kind of their cup of tea. Do you see like because I've seen like people like Badge Plug who've kind of like had a little more interest towards the league and stuff and kind of wanting to try to attempt to do something around it and like
Right.
do you think 3v3 will kind of like bridge that gap for the community with the 2K League and the content creators? Because I feel like there's always this kind of like this gap. Like we're on our separate. We have our separate communities. We have Park, Pro Am, and then my
Hmm.
team. Like, do you think that now the league having both of these will bring these communities together?
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's just all about taking it one step at a time. They're getting the right people involved. The funny thing is, like a lot of these people, like the influences that people see that's getting involved, like a lot of them think it's just like some hate type of thing. But genuinely, a lot of these guys care about the league and they care about 3v3 becoming like a bigger platform. So
Hmm.
I definitely think it's something that can grow over time, and they're getting the right people behind it. And people just got to trust that the league know what they're doing
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I definitely think that maybe one day the league will even have. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they'll have my team. I don't know, but
Yeah.
based on what I saw, I thought this was a very well ran tournament. Hopefully more of it streamed. For PlayStation. I'm glad that they did jump on stream to do these finals. And stuff like that. But
Hmm.
I do hope to see because I mean the stream was great. I mean I know that you obviously were in there helping with some stuff behind the scenes, but from
Yeah.
a viewer perspective, I thought it was fantastically run. We didn't have the games didn't take long. It was very quick. I think best of
Yeah.
threes were great all the way through. I
for
think
sure.
I think the best of fives. I think those are really good. I think the best of fives are amazing. Uh,
Yeah.
I think that like when you get later in the tournament, I think that makes it more exciting. Obviously there's more 2K. I think that from a broadcast standpoint, the
Hmm.
commentators are going to have a fun time with this. Um, if you were to say, for the 2K League, you know, right now everyone's
Yeah.
focused on 5v5. But
Uh-huh.
we just saw a qualifier tournament where we saw a lot of people compete. Obviously, some guys from the eyeball people, some people like 2K Twins and them. I know that Doctor Do and all those guys. I know they were doing their thing. Do you think that NBA 2K League orgs will kind of transition into pushing more towards 3v3, or do you think they're still going to solely focus on 5v5 most of them?
I think you'll sort of start to see that transition after this season. I think with this year being the first year that they introduced it, it wasn't like that big of a deal. But I think you're sort of going to start to see teams try and transition and look into more 3v3 players after this year, with it being like the second year coming up that it'll be like involved with the league. So
Hmm.
I definitely think you'll start to see that transition after this year once people see how the 3v3 gameplay is, how people are playing on it, and things of that nature.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that it's time to kind of talk about, these, obviously I'm doing my top 10 tonight. I'm going to kind of piece it together. And if there's somewhere I'm way off base, in your opinion, let me know. I mean, you can kind of give your insights on it, but we're going to be.
Sure.
So the way I'm doing these top 10s, and I feel like some teams don't run locks based off of what I saw. Like some teams kind of run like those two PGs, but they still have somebody technically being a lock, I guess you could say, guarding ball.
Yeah.
What is your thoughts on those type of lineups where like teams don't come out on locks? Because like I saw most of the teams that went deep into tournaments, they had lockdown defense, they had locks, but there were some teams
Right.
that didn't have that. Like, do you think like I think I'm pretty sure Kings World and them, I know that they had a lock, but like they came out in pro am builds and they went all the way to the finals. There was other teams that didn't have like locks on their team or anything. Like, do you think that like that's just a crutch? Like, is there a specific lineup that you need to have in 3v3? Otherwise, you might as well just chalk it up. Like, is there like any specific lineup in your opinion that you have to have on the court?
Me personally, I think like having the guard locked down and popular lineup is always going to be your best lineup.
Hmm.
But I'll say this: I think in general in the qualifiers, you're going to see a lot of teams try to run unorthodox lineups and different play styles. But I'll say this: when it comes to defense, like you're going to need to get stops. Like in threes, you can't afford to allow teams to get comfortable and get too many threes. So you're gonna have to get stopped. So when you're running those lineups with like double guards, like you're gonna be at a disadvantage on defense. So I would definitely say like the guard and the lockdown, the popper lineup is the best lineup. But you'll definitely see people run different lineups in like different play styles for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, and I definitely think that the one thing that everyone's wondering too, and it's kind of been murmured around a lot, is the situation with the difference between retail and league build. How much
Right.
of a dramatic difference do you think that it's going to make for a lot of these guys in the amateur circuit, like coming in, playing on
Um,
this? Like, is it going to be a big adjustment for them, and are they going to be able to adjust, in your opinion?
I think it's going to be an adjustment for sure. Um, I don't think it's going to be an easy adjustment at all. Like when they first get on it, I think it's going to take them some time to get used to it. But um, I think you'll notice that if these guys are really as good as they think they are, like they'll be able to make the adjustments for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Anyway, I think it's time for us to transition into the first position of the night, and that's going to be point guard. Like I said, guys, for everyone on the stream, the way I'm going to be doing this is I'm going to do point guard first. We'll do lock, and then we'll do center. The way I'm going to base it is kind of again success in the tournament. And there might be some past success that I try to put into it. I know I've watched a little bit of GCL. I really want to solely focus on the
Nice
qualifier.
jerseys, man.
Appreciate it, Keith. Appreciate it. But like I said, there's a lot that's going to go into this more than just there will be a little bit. Most of the qualifier will matter when I'm making this list. Mara's going to kind of be here as like a person that might just a referral, but this is solely going to be most of my opinion, and maybe there's something I'm off base. If someone in the chat creates a good argument, or if someone like Mar brings up a good point, then I may do adjustments throughout this list. But this is kind of my first sample of doing 3v3 and doing a list based off of 3v3. So work with me, bear with me. I know every time I do a list, people come for my neck. But anyway, without further ado, let's get right into this list. So at the point guard position, this is, basically the guy that has to control the floor. You got to be able to move at the point guard position. You got to be able to shoot threes. Like, if you're a driving PG, like if you're like a slasher type PG and you're not able to kind of, create separation and get open, off the dribble, you're really not meant for 3v3. So, Mar, what would you say is the biggest skill gap at the PG position besides, like, I guess you could say like dribbling and shooting are the main ones, but is there anything else that like really kind of matters? Because I feel like passing is important, but it's not as important as like a lot of the stuff on the scoring side. Like what does it take to be one of the best PGs in the stage community / park community in 3v3?
I would say like being able to like make adjustments on both ends. So like offensively, like when you're getting to your shots, like eventually you're gonna have those teams that try to throw you off and send a double at you. So now you got to figure out a way to get your other teammates involved. And defensively, like you just can't be so stuck to the corner because you have teams that run back doors, they run a lot of plays. So you gotta kind of know how to control both sides. So I think that's like the biggest skill gap, being able to control both sides of the court for sure.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely agree. I think for a PG, if your PG isn't shooting well and they're missing shots, you're out of the game. There's no chance you're going to win the game. But a lot of times when it comes down to it too, for a lot of PGs, it's I've seen PGs that didn't miss a shot in series and still lost. Like I watch IQ Contain literally, and again, I'm not saying he's this like really good PG or anything, but like he literally didn't miss a shot in the entire series, but his team didn't get stops, missed wide opens, full whites, were making questionable passes. So it's like as a PG you can always only do so much, but you are still one of the most important pieces. So
yeah, stops are huge in 3v3.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I will say is like 5v5 player transitioning to 3v3, like it's going to be like a difficult transition for like those players that you see run a lot of rotations in 5v5, because in 3v3 you're going to get put into more 1v1 based situations. Like it's kind of really hard to hide a player in 3v3, champ. Like you can hide a player in 5v5, but when it comes down to 3v3 you can't hide him. Like you're going to be put into 1v1 based situations. So those players that you see run a lot of rotations and prime, like it's going to be a difficult transition in 3v3, because when you're going against crafty guards and good teams, like you'll see that you can't hide those players.
So let me ask you, we know in Pro-Am there's a lot of plays that are run and stuff like that. Is it possible to run plays in 3v3? Because it's like
Absolutely.
Because I felt like a lot of teams, didn't really do anything like when it came to running plays or anything. They kind of just were like
That's just because like a lot of the teams you've seen, like they're just so used to like having a guard that's just 300. They don't need to run a play. But I think like once you get into tournament time and there's actually big money on the line, you'll see teams implement plays. Like there's absolutely a lot of plays that you can run in 3v3. I ran a couple of greens in them, so it's definitely some plays that you can run for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely could see it, and I'm interested to see how some league teams. I know in the past, like we've had like 3v3 tournaments, so I'm excited to see like a team like the Warriors, what they're going to scheme up in this 2K, because that's a team that we all know they always are trying to develop some type of play or do some kind of scheme besides just running pick and roll, and that's another thing too. When I watch a lot of these games, I'm seeing a lot of ISO ball, and it's fine. But, like, my issue with ISO ball is when you're not scoring in consecutive possessions, like, why do most teams not, like, try to transition to something besides just, one-on-one ball, like, one-on-one? Because it's like, I feel like teams just get stuck and complacent in this and they don't get out of, like, the ISO. Like, at what point do you, as a competitive player, like, when do you say, yo, we need to switch to pick and roll? Like is it a couple possessions,
I
one
think
possession? Like, how do you do it?
I think it's more so of like a retail thing because like if you notice a lot in retail on isolation, like a lot of times the reason guards run that ISO is because you get a lot of stun animations. So it's really no sense in like having that screen set because when you have the screen set, you get the stun animation. There's somebody to pick up on you 9 times out of 10. So when you run isolation, and you get that stun animation 9 times out of 10, like you're just going to be open for a shot. So I think that's why a lot of guards like running the ISO because they just know the game. And retail is just like you get a lot of stun animations and then lockdown. So
Mm-hmm.
that's that. But I definitely understand what you're talking about. Like at some point, trying to
Yeah.
switch it up.
So, I'm just curious. I can't remember. Is Nolenberry the PG correct on you know? Is that who the PG
Yeah,
is? Okay, I just
yeah.
wanted to make sure. I'm kind of setting up my Google Docs, trying to have all the names in front of me, in my opinion, of who I think should belong up on these higher parts of this list. Um, so I'm gonna actually start putting some names on the board here. I'm not going to go exactly in order yet, guys. I'm just going to kind of throw some names, in my opinion, that I feel like should be on here. I think one of the first names is going to be, I'm going to say his name wrong. Is it Crux or Crux?
Crucified, but
Is
some
it
people call him
Crucify?
Crux. Yeah,
Okay, is it Crucify? I'm going to do Crucify
yeah. You
because
just did crucify.
I think that looks better. Because I think as much as I love, short little names like that, I think it just looks better as Crucify. That'd be
All right.
I think that for Crucify, based off of what I saw in the tournament from him, I mean, I think there's like I always respect you guys, over on Eyeball. You guys always know how to recruit really good talent to kind of
Mm-hmm.
come be a part of your guys' team, and it's not really, this Eyeball has, I know that a lot of them haven't been I haven't actually seen them play as much in 3v3. Did they come back to 3v3, or were they the ones that came back, or was it someone?
Yeah, that team like the lockdown the center wasn't really playing,
Yeah,
so they came back for it.
because I know that I didn't see them much. It was the first time I actually seen them. I kind of heard someone talk about that and speak about that, so I was kind of curious on that. Which is, I
All right.
mean, that's a compliment in itself. A team that kind of just put together. Not I'm sure they ran some reps together, but it definitely wasn't something long term planned like the 2K Twins, who've been playing basically
Yeah.
everything every day. So that's definitely an advantage for them, but. Crucify. I mean, I'm gonna put him on the list for now. I'm also
Mm-hmm.
going to put. So when I write 2K Twins, should I write C4 Twin 2? Like I'm like we got Twin
Uh,
1 and 2. How do I write that? Like how do I write? Do we know them by
so
Twin 1 and 2?
I have to go.
Like no. So
I
the one.
can never remember like who's twin one and who's the other one.
Well, the
Not
PG
even
the
gonna lie
PG
to
the
you.
PG is Twin 2. So I don't.
Okay. Yes.
I
Yeah.
want.
So yeah, you should probably just put C4 twin two
Mhm,
and C4 twin one.
yeah. So I'll just put C4 Twin 2. Again, this isn't in the order yet. I'm just kind of putting names on this list. I'm also going to be putting Stun on here as well. He obviously went to the finals. He played in a lineup that wasn't traditional, you would say, for Park. So they were playing on pro am builds. I mean, the guys, they had like most of these guys that you're playing against didn't have any free throw on their builds, but they had their pro am builds out there, and they go to the finals. So I have to respect that. Stun though in the finals kind of concerned me. He kind of started out slow in every single game and didn't really get going until later on in a lot of those games in the finals. But he
Right.
throughout the tournament, he definitely was very confident and dominant. I think that and it's nothing against him. I just think he kind of fell under the pressure of the situation, and it was just this is the first time we're truly testing these guys in like big money situations. It's 25. Again, some people might say $2,500 isn't that much money, but for how quick this tournament was, that's the quickest $2,500 I think anyone can make. And split among three people. That's another thing is like these tournaments, you only have three people on your roster versus what six or five that's been in the past. So it's like the money's just more for everybody per person. So I
Right.
mean, I think that I think that's the plus side about 3v3, that it's quicker games, it's easier,
Yeah,
it's
I'm telling you, I really think people are gonna enjoy it over time, champ, because
yeah,
it's so fast paced, and just I think in general in this community, like a lot of people, our audience has like a short attention span, so like those 3v3, those quick games, like they're gonna love that.
yeah. I think that it's really important too who they bring in to kind of. Stun. You're not 10. I'm just throwing names on the board. Don't worry. I'm not done yet. Um, But I think it's going to be really interesting too, the influencers that they kind of bring out to be involved with these events and kind of
Right.
cover these events, because I think it's really crucial that we do bring a lot of these, former, I know a lot of these influencers might not be as involved,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that it's important that we bring them out. It might revitalize a lot of guys to want to make content and kind of work towards something. Because the problem with the community and with Park and 3v3 is there's nothing to really work towards. Once the level 40 thing, everyone was hoping that it was not going to be how it was, but it ended up not being great. There wasn't really any type of grind, any type of goal. At this point in 2K, it's kind of hard to play because there is no rep, there is no like rep rewards or anything. There is nothing like to kind of like
Mm-hmm.
show for it. So there's nothing to grind for or build towards. So I think the NBA 2K League creating this kind of like setup to where you qualify, you have the qualifiers, and then I think that they'll probably run another off season tournament, probably in the off season. I'm sure they will for 3v3. I think that that's really important. I think that those type of tournaments will help the NBA 2K League, but also I think
Right.
overall help the community. I think a lot of guys in the 2K community they want something to play for, especially in the competitive end. And I just
Mm-hmm.
think that this is gonna, this is just the start of it. And a lot of these guys who are doing well in these tournaments now, they're the front runners. They're the ones that are going to be seen first. They're going to be remembered. They're like, yeah, so and so went to the finals and won this tournament. So that's something I think that's going to go a long way. But next up, I'm going to add on this list. I'm going to add Doctor Do. So Doctor Do, I watched a lot of him. He was just, I mean, dude, the guy could not be stopped. He was every game. Every game he was averaging like 14, 16 points a game every time I watched him play, and he was shooting consistently. I think there was multiple series where he didn't miss a single shot. He didn't turn the ball over, which is really important in 3v3. And people don't like. I get not. There's not really much of like. I don't want to say there's not much defense. I just think that people are just so like there's not as much passing. I feel like in 3v3 as there is in 5v5. Like the ball movement isn't as much. It's more about just kind of ISO and dribbling and
Yeah.
occasional pick and roll. There's not as much passing, but there is a lot of guards that are very good at the give and goes. I think that's something that is a really something I think a lot of 2K League teams are going to kind of dissect and create plays around. Is those give and go situations where the center catches the ball and they're trying to do wraps and stuff like that around it and creating kind of like that off-ball jig in a way. So I think that's something that will kind of come into fruition more as the competitive scene grows for 3v3. And I'm excited to see, we saw the Xbox side, but what are your thoughts on the PlayStation side? Is there like, I'm hearing a lot of things like they always show out, like there's a bit like they're even better on PlayStation. Like, do you know much about PlayStation or anything?
Mm, no, I really don't know too much about PlayStation, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to watch. I know like a couple of teams here and there, but next week I'm gonna have to watch and just see who shows up.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm actually gonna add another person on here, even though he didn't play well in this tournament. I do know that he showed out from multiple tournaments. He fell. He got. I mean, like you said, he overlooked a team, but that's eyeball greens. I know greens. He came into this tournament. I'm sure they probably felt very
Yeah.
confident in themselves. I mean, I would too. I mean, the amount of tournaments
Mm,
they've won, it was at least finals. But to get upset that early against a team that it's not really, I guess you wouldn't say it as much as upset because you are correct on the idea. Like I've heard about, I've seen a lot of their guys in Park. I didn't know their exact Park like lineups, but like I always heard good things about them in the Park scene, and I'm sure
yeah.
that it wasn't as much of an upset. Maybe to the pro end community it looked like an upset, but to like the 3v3 end of things, it probably does not look as much of an upset. Just because the park community knows them more than we know, vice versa, like both sides. So, but
Right.
I'm definitely gonna add Greens on here because he has to be somewhere on here at least, in my
Right.
opinion.
No, yeah, for sure.
Up next, I'm gonna add Floozy on here. I know Floozy went to the finals. He hooped.
It's Fluze, just so you know.
Floozy is it?
Yeah,
Okay,
Fluze.
Floozy. Okay,
Yeah.
so but I know he's got to be on here as well. I'm just gonna call him Flu. Is that you think is Floozy is better? Is it Flu or Floozy better?
Probably Fluze. Yeah,
Floozy.
Fluze.
Okay. So I'll add Floozy on here. I'm trying to think. Who else am I missing? There's a couple people. I have to go through the rosters. There's so many freaking people in this tournament. The thing is, there's 23 teams on both consoles, which is wild to me. I'm trying to think of someone else I watched.
I would say, what's the guard from Nombre.
Yeah. Oh, Nombre. I didn't put him
Definitely,
on.
I
Oh,
definitely,
shoot. Yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
definitely think,
Yeah.
Nombre should be on there for sure.
Yeah.
Showed up.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Let's see. Let's add Nombre onto here. So we'll put Nombre on here. Again, guys, this isn't in order yet. I kind of already have an order in my mind. I just want to throw names on the board, and once I see all the names that I want, then I'll start kind of depicting and putting them in different, specific orders, in my opinion, on who I think is the best. Uh, so who else am I missing? So I know that. Let me see, because there was another team that was really far in the tournament that I was watching for a while. Was it? Let me see this team. Who is the PG for Mamba Sports Academy? Does anyone
I
know?
believe I want to say it's Money GF, but I could be wrong.
I feel like it was. I saw he was going crazy in some games. I know later on in the tournament they didn't look as good. I'm pretty sure they got
Let's say
flooded.
Money
I
GF.
feel like they got flooded later on in the tournament, but
Right.
oh no, actually they didn't get flooded. I don't think so. I don't remember. But I do. I remember watching them, and throughout the tournament, they looked good to me. I mean, that was a team that I felt like I'm gonna actually
Sure.
find out real quick who the PG is. I'm sure the chat might read it, but I just clicked on their stream. I'll see it real quick. It takes me 5 seconds. That's the great thing though about this. It's like it doesn't take me long to see who. Oh, so it's Raptors Baby was their PG, and they had Money GF. They had Money GF at shooting guard. That's who it is. Okay, so I'll add Raptors on here because I know they're PG. I was watching a couple of their games, and
Yeah.
I feel like Money GF was like taking the ball a lot too, and I feel like that's why like maybe I thought he was their PG as well. I just felt like he was scoring a lot more compared to most people.
Right.
Like when it came to like the second, the shooting. I don't know if you want to say shooting guard, lock, whatever you want to call him. He
Hmm.
is technically the lock, but based on what I saw, I definitely think that he needs to be somewhere on this list. Um,
For sure.
let's
Sure.
see.
For sure.
Let's see. What else am I forgetting? I'm just looking at both brackets right now. That's round 4. Triple nine. Who was there? Who was there?
I think that guard was drip flexing.
It might have been. I know
I think
triple
so.
nine. I know triple nine was pretty tough. I don't. How far did they
They
make
had
it?
they had somebody who was scoring a lot in the tournament. I just can't put to mind who it was.
Let me see. I'm going on Reap's stream right now because that's actually what I want to see.
I think it was either Drip or Wailu. I want to say Drip though.
Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that one out. Let me see. Chat, do you guys know what round Blix losing? Blix should be in top
He
10.
lost. He lost.
I saw Blix. Wait, what team is he on?
He lost. I'll tell you. I'm gonna find it. It's, he lost.
He lost Elite 8.
Yeah, he lost in round 3 against KJ and them.
Oh, yeah. I saw him in like the early rounds. I saw him hooping.
Yeah, I would put Blix on there for sure.
I'll add Blix on here. All right, let's see. All right. I'm going to actually start putting these in order now, guys. Based off of
So I think you should make it clear like that whether you're like ranking it based off the qualifiers only or like
I'm gonna go based off of what I've seen in
in the
qualifiers. Yes,
Yeah, I think that's
qualifiers.
fair. Yeah, that's fair.
So like most of this is qualifiers. The only person I've seen the most outside of the qualifiers was Eyeball Greens, and
Right.
it's like I'm not gonna rank him high just because he like I know what his potential is, of course, but I'll put him in kind of. I feel like I'm gonna put him in like an easy medium because I know he's still got like. He's good.
Right.
Like he can hoop, but I mean, it just wasn't his day. That's how 3v3 goes. Anyone can lose.
Yeah.
That's how these tournaments go. So, like, for me, I'm going to kind of put him, in my opinion, if I was to not go based off just, like, most of what I saw in the qualifiers, I would rank Greens higher. But because he didn't perform in the qualifiers.
I still, if you go based off the qualifiers, he's still in that top 5 range.
So, for me, the number one person at this point, and I'm between like after watching Fluze and Cruz, like I feel like both of them are really up there. I know Twins in them, they beat Crucify in them, but I still I feel like it's kind of like tough for me. Like my top 3, I still think number 1 in my opinion is going to be Fluze. Like just based off of what I saw during that like series, I felt like watching him throughout the tournament. Like I didn't get to watch every single game. I kind of watched him later on in the tournament, but based off of what I saw on him, like the guy can move. I mean, the guy does everything right. Like I feel like a lot of these guys, like it's about just who's a little more efficient than the other. Yeah. In my opinion, like all right, who can consistently be, like the number, like hitting their shots and green. The biggest thing for me is like some of these people, like I could not believe how many whites some of these teams can hit. Like that's something that you can't do that in the league. Like you can't like expect like 3 or 4 whites to go into a row. And that's kind of what I saw with some teams. I saw some teams where like guys were hitting multiple whites, and that's kind of like for me, that's kind of concerning when it comes to the next level. Hey, appreciate Nefo is I think it's Nef Show Shiesty. Appreciate the sub, man. Huge W, man. Appreciate it. Anyway, you can add Gazuli. What do you mean add Gazuli? Oh, Gazuli, yeah. I could put.
Yeah, you can add Gazuli to have a 10.
Yeah, I'll put him in here. Let me just keep moving people's names around first. I'll add Gazuli on here. Just remind me, chat, because I do have to add Gazuli.
Yeah, rightfully so. I think Fluze was definitely the best guy in that tournament. He showed out. I think. You have his averages. He had to be like averaging a ridiculous amount.
I didn't finish them, but he was freaking like his 3-point percentage from what I saw. The dude did not miss. Like I remember, I feel like it was like in like I might be wrong. It might have been like 80 something, like from the 3. Like it was something crazy.
He was definitely hooping. Definitely was hooping. So I think rightfully so. He should be number 1.
Yeah, but I am gonna move so C4 Twins. I have to move him up. My thing is, I'm always like I think from a stick perspective, I do like Crucify a lot, but in a big moment where when it's kind of like if Kobe and LeBron played in the NBA Finals. Like if whoever wins, I mean, you have to say the other is better. Like these two played it. They played far in a tournament, and the other guy came out on top. So I had to put C4 Twin over Crucify just because he beat him. From a skill perspective, I could kind of like put Cruz over Twins. I from based off of what I watched from Cruz, because I felt like Cruz was a little more fluent, and Twins was like he was very he was good, but like I felt like it was just sparks, like really good like sparks here and there. Like sometimes like he would shoot he would kind of like make a mistake, and it was just like. It was very unorthodox his mistakes sometimes, but he had a really good tournament. Like I'm not going to take that away from him. Like I think that both the Twins, were doing amazing. Like they're like it really is interesting how good their chemistry is. I'm just interested once those guys are apart from each other. Does it take away from one of the other's game? That's always something that's always talked about in sports. Like you separate a duo, how can it impact these guys? You know what I mean?
Definitely can have an impact for sure. But I think you go C4 Twin in number 2. I think a lot of people don't give credit. I think Toxic kind of pointed out on the broadcast last night that the Twins they for them to be so young, champ, like the composure that they have is ridiculous.
Oh, dude, they were literally so like that's the one thing I have to say. It's funny you say that. I wrote that in my notes. Like that is so funny you said that. I was their composure
champ is insane. Like they're young, so like at their age, you would think they would be rattled, but they don't get rattled, champ.
Like they'll yell, but they like.
I've seen them in multiple finals, so like this isn't just like a one case thing. Like the way they compose themselves.
Didn't they just go to the GCL finals recently too?
I believe so, yeah. But
Yeah.
their composure in difficult situations is crazy, bro. So you got to give them credit.
Mhm.
Definitely got to give them credit
No,
for sure.
I definitely do because I agree with you. Someone I just moved up as well is Nombre from
Yeah, for sure.
I felt like I have to put him at 4.
Yeah,
I based off of what I saw with him and just the way overall their entire team, like I felt like was just playing so well. They kind of just, I mean, eventually all good runs come to an end. I mean, it's 3v3, you
no,
know.
yeah. He was having a good run.
Um,
But I think you go four. I think you go four Nombre, and
and
then
then
you
5
go
is going to be greens.
five greens.
Five will
Five
be green.
greens.
Yeah, no, 5 will
I
be
think
greens.
what the chat has to understand, like we all know like Green's skill. Like we all know this.
But
But
like
if he's ranking this like based off of just the tournament alone, like you have to give credit to those four guys above Greens.
Yeah, they showed out in a tournament for the most money ever in 3v3. Like this is the biggest tournament ever in 3v3, and Greens only has one more shot to get in because I'm pretty sure that last 3v3 tournament is for EU
Yeah,
and all that stuff. So like if anything, it's very underwhelming. Like for what he did, the moment was bigger than he thinks. Like he's got to go out there, and I'm sure he'll do great in the next tournament. I'm sure he'll make a deep run. He'll come out with revenge. He'll come out in a different perspective of things. But based off of what happened in this tournament, he didn't they didn't perform. And I'm still respecting his game by putting him at 5. If I was going to
yeah,
look at the big picture of things, yes, I agree. I think Greens is top 3. I think that Greens should be moved up. But like for me, I'm going based off of what I saw in this tournament. I know the most about Greens compared to anybody on this list. Compared to anybody on this list, I know the most about Greens in my opinion. But
yeah.
anyway,
I think this is the fairest way to do it because if you don't go based off the qualifiers, he's easily top 2.
hmm
Like I think it's between like Fluze and Greens at that point. But if
hmm
you're going based off the tournament, I think putting him at 5 it's fair because it's like in the middle.
Yeah. So I want to bring up a point. So this is kind of like the hard thing about ranking teams is like some teams don't have like their shooting so some teams kind of have like 2 ball handler sets and not like a traditional lock, I guess you could say, because I see people bringing up points about like KJ and stuff like that. Or like just multiple people like I'm sure that probably play the 2 position. Like it's kind of hard to rank all like because they're not a primary ball handler. You kind of have to create some type of separation between
Right.
like primary and secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like for me,
That's what it is, Tox. He's ranking it strictly off the tournament. It's not like
yeah.
anything else.
I I I think let me find out the talks for tournament tourney
Like,
hold on, wait.
do I think Greens performed bad in the tournament? Absolutely not. Like, I'm just trying to be realistic and fair to like the other people who showed
Mhm.
out. Like, I think the four guards above him played better.
I just have to I want to give respect to the people that showed out in the biggest moment, right? It's kind of
Yeah,
like it's like all right, I would look at all the other tournaments as like regular season games, and then like this is the playoffs. I respect like what you do in the playoffs versus what you do in a regular season perspective, and it's not to downplay those other leagues and tournaments, but this is the NBA 2K League, and it's for $10,000. I mean, it's for $2,500 for each qualifier, and on top of that, if you make it all the way through, you go compete for $100,000. Like at the end of the day, I mean, if we were to go based off of like all-time winnings, I'm sure like Tox tournaments have kind of built up some money. But if one of these qualifier teams goes into this 100K tournament and like let's say they even go to Final Four, they're already walking away
yeah,
with one of the biggest bags ever, like in like 3v3 and maybe above beyond wagers. Like you think about it, you look at some of the wagers over the years, yeah, like there's definitely been some made up wagers over the years, like oh $10,000 wager, like that's definitely not like I would never gamble $10,000 on a best of 5 series or best of 7 series in 2K, like especially in like it doesn't matter 5v5 3v3. I don't think anyone would ever do that. 150K prize pool, it might be 150K. I have the email somewhere. It's either 100K or 150. It's one of the two. Either way, the prize pool is a crap load of money, and it's split among 3 people. Like the prize pool, like again, I know that I know if you win it, yeah, it's like something like 60,000. Like the 150, it's a total 150. Then it's split like it's like they're like every place gets different. but that's still good. Dude, imagine playing in one of these tournaments, as a qualifier, you make it all the way through, and you win it, and you got 60K in your pocket. That's what some people make it, and like you split that among 3 people, that's 20K. $20,000. Like, that's crazy. And obviously there's taxes, don't get me wrong, but either way, that's the most money you've probably ever like touched based off of just playing 2K. And you're like, it's just going to help you down the line too and get into the league. I think that you can make it to the NBA 2K League if you go deep in one of these tournaments. You don't even have to win it. If any of these guys, like any of these PGs right now, let's say I know the Twins are they won't be like eligible till season 7 based off of what I know about them. I know they're juniors in high school right now because I actually spoke with them. So they're juniors in high school. They won't be eligible till season 7. Is Fluze? How old is Fluze? Do you know how old Fluze is by chance? Like, is he like
he's above 18. I think he's either like 18 or 19. I don't know.
I wonder if he's graduated from high school. Like the rule is you have to be graduated from high school in October. So
he graduated. He graduated.
Yeah. So like I don't know if they have any ambitions, but they they'll be eligible to go for the league if they would like to, and that's a bigger bag on top of that.
Right.
Like, I know not every single person that plays like 3v3 might not want to go for the league, and that's okay. That's why the league has this opportunity outside the league. But like, this is building their resumes. Again, like you said, the biggest thing when I watched the Twins, I was like, holy crap, these guys could be top picks.
Their composure is crazy.
Their composure, it's so funny you said that. Because, like, I wrote that down specifically in my notes, and as soon as you said, I'm like, dude, holy crap. Like, that's...
Bro, I promise you, bro, and even if you go to, like, 5v5, they can be down 20, and they still have the same type of composure. Like, you don't really see that at their age, so you got to get props for sure.
Yeah, dude. But, I mean, a lot of these guys, this is kind of building the future, like, pools of, like, the NBA 2K League. Because, like, a lot of the draft pools, people were like, oh, 5v5, there's no one left. But now you have these new guys coming in from 3v3 who bring a lot of promise to your 3v3 teams if you don't really feel confident on 5v5. You can bring these guys in, and they can control your franchise. And, like, you've seen some of these guys kind of transitioning to the 5v5, and they're not doing too bad. They're still, I think that it takes time to kind of get transitioned into the game mode of 5v5 compared to 3v3. But,
yeah, for sure.
But, as they transition, as they play 5v5 more, these guys are potential, like, lottery picks at one point, maybe in the future down the line, if they keep doing what they're doing. And if they go and secure some bread in the league, oh, my God. Like, the sky's the limit. Definitely. But... I like my top 5 so far. Again, I've already clarified with the whole greens thing. We can always, move greens up down the line. If he just got to come out and perform.
I think everybody knows, like greens is easily like a top 2 skilled player on this list. But if we're ranking it just based off the qualifiers, you got to give props to the guys who came out there and performed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for all those curious, like, I don't know when the next signups will start. For is it the Switch? I think it's called in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
The Switch, I'm sure they'll like just keep a lookout for it. This is why you got to follow. Like, I want to be that guy to say follow the league, but go ahead.
Yeah, so the next tournament is actually May 18th through the 21st, and May 25th to the 28th for each console. So you'll probably see the signups go like live like a week or two before the week of May 18th.
Yeah, and I'm sure when you're watching the Slam, they're gonna probably have stuff all about it, like with signups and everything. Like they'll be telling people.
That was for North America that I just mentioned, but you also got like the EU qualifiers coming up in APAC as well.
So that last tournament of the year, what's the last tournament of the year called? I don't.
I believe it is called the Steel. So like
the Steel, yeah.
It's the reason it's called that is because like you have the idea like the ticket and you got like the Steel, so it's kind of like having that same type of idea.
Do you know if they win? So how does making the playoffs for 3v3 amateur teams work? Do they have to like win a tournament or something, or is there going to be a separate qualifier for playoffs for amateur
that
teams?
I don't really know too much about. I think the league plans on like revealing that at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really know too much about it. But I do know like they have this all planned out for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm so curious because guys, if you think the money is big for just like these regular tournaments, playoffs is insane. Every year they have like $1 million prize pool.
Playoff bag is crazy. I think the 3v3 team that wins the playoffs. Let me double check this for you right now. The 3v3 team that wins the playoffs, they would take home 250K.
Oh my, 3 people?
Ridiculous, ridiculous.
Oh
They
my
would, yeah.
god,
The first place gets 250K.
bro, that's
Then you throw in like taxes or whatever, but that's still like
dude,
insane, bro.
dude, that's
Never before seen. 250K for 3v3 is crazy, champ. And then even like second place, there it's the pricing is 100K.
dude. I would,
Like
I would,
crazy,
I'd be okay.
crazy money,
I'd be okay
crazy
just
money.
taking a like. I'd be happy just taking away $10,000 from like
That's
from playing 3v3.
I
Like,
think we got to understand like how much money that really is. 250K for 3v3, champ. Like we never seen that before.
dude,
Never. So like
imagine being
if one
imagine.
if one if one of these amateur teams can somehow figure out a way to take home that bag, man, you want to talk about raising your stock? That's the way to do it.
Player, let me see what your question is. Your question is: in the future, do you think 3v3 masterminds like Yobas will be number one picks versus 5v5? Listen, I think it's going to take a while for 3v3 to kind of be the priority for teams. I think a lot of teams will still prioritize 5v5, but there will be those teams that, like, let's say you have a late pick in the draft and you're in a situation like Nets Gaming Crew this year. Um,
Right.
Nets Gaming Crew had a late first, and they wouldn't be able to get their PG till late. I wouldn't be
Right.
surprised, like, next year you start seeing teams taking more 3v3 players later on drafts because, okay, at this point in the draft, the 5v5 town's kind of dried up. Why don't we go for one of these 3v3 guys and excel our 3v3 team? And I think you kind of saw some teams do that. I know the Raptors taking Fana high. A lot of people on the pro-am side were like, what are they doing? But I think that the Raptors are big braining it more than we think. I think they're looking at it as perspective of, okay, we got a guy that has played 5v5, but also has done his thing in 3v3. So let's secure let's secure a guy here for 3v3 and make something at least in 3v3.
Yeah.
And you'll start seeing those like Fana is is technically the first ever like I know he's played pro-am, but like he's technically the first ever like 3v3 PG to be selected in the first round at the high pick that he was selected. I know you have BP, who was like again, but that was like back then, like they were drafting based on 5v5. This is the first time I think a team is basing off of 3v3 when they're drafting, and getting a guy like Fana that high. I wouldn't be surprised next year if we see maybe like 2 or 3 guards, take some lottery spots in the first round. I mean, not lottery spots, but take two or three spots in the first round to kind of take over a franchise for 3v3 because I do know that some orgs, some PGs have talked about retirement, and there's going to be spots that open up. And that's the thing about the league every year. Like, you never know what can happen. The amount of retirements the league had this year, you had, obviously Chalking suspended, Fab getting suspended. You had JBM that had, retired. You have Sherm who retired. You had 4 PG spots open up so fast. And that's, and that's huge. And that's how the league is going to go for not like every year now. Like, you're going to have that crazy retirement. You're going to have like those random things that happen, like, that were unforeseen. Maybe someone can't be in the league, with some personal stuff going on. There'll be a lot of opportunity, and that's why
I think.
Go ahead.
I think in general, like the PG position is always going to be a spot that like you have the most spots because it changes the most on a year-to-year basis in terms of like the skill gap. Because if you're playing point guard, I think to excel in the league, like you have to set up on retail every year to just see how it feels out and just get a feel of it. So I think the PG spot is definitely a spot each year that's like kind of wide open in this sense.
Dude, I can't imagine. I wonder what the 3v3 stage is going to look like. That's another thing, guys. You're not only going to be playing 3v3. If you make it far enough in these tournaments, guess what? You're getting flown out to Indy. You're going to literally be on a stage, and you're going to be playing against people. Like, I really want to see the 2K Twins make it far, just because I want to see those guys like on a
that
stage.
would be nice to see.
Oh,
that would definitely be nice to see. I'm actually like I'm excited to now. I'm glad that the Twins got in because I'm excited to see them compete on the group play against like the league pros, and if they're able to advance past that, then they would make it to Indy. So I'm definitely excited to see that for sure.
I definitely am too. So, based off of PG right now, I mean, kind of getting back to this list, is there anybody that's like, in your opinion, that's missing at this point? I feel like
Nah, I think you pretty much like got like all the high powered guards in.
Mhm.
I think this is the top 10. So
I have to give.
um,
I am going to move Raptors baby down a little. I know that we kind of. I'm going to move stun a little up.
yeah,
Uh,
for sure, for sure.
and I'm going to move Raptors
Um,
baby. And again, nothing against Raptors baby. Again, he did his
I
thing.
would Me personally, I would probably go like stun at 6. Um,
He did make the
because I think
finals.
I think stun still deserves a little bit of credit for sure.
Hmm.
Um,
I do agree with that. I don't disagree. Uh,
yeah,
I would just move everyone down one. That's probably what I would do.
yeah, for
Let
sure.
me see. Yeah, so that's what I'll do. I'll just move everybody up. Uh,
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. Cash, did no meter get first rounded? I could be wrong. I'm just asking. I didn't really get to see no meter. I know he said he had like an issue with like his center loading up late at night.
I I think that I know it's unfortunate. That
Right.
like that some guys got upset in the tournament. Okay, that happens in everything. Like there's gonna be
Yeah.
upsets. Like it.
Especially in threes. Like it's such like a momentum based mode. Like you can't afford to have that many mistakes in threes. 5v5 you have a little bit of a gap. But threes like every possession is important.
Mhm.
Every single possession is
But
definitely
even then,
important.
sometimes you got to know when to go for twos. Like you got to know
Yeah,
when
yep,
it's
yep,
all about timing. Like there's times when, all right, if you're up by like let's say you're up by like 5 or 6 points,
yep.
you don't have to
Take what they
force a
give you.
three. Yeah, like
Take
go
what they
like
give you.
if they got two guys up top and like just take that quick shot because you're putting that pressure on them that they got to go over and score now. Like that, it's that simple. And if they can't, like if no one's getting stops, then you're gonna win the game. Like take that momentum, especially because like there's like I've seen like I saw facial reactions and like
Yeah,
I saw how some people were when they got down by a certain point. Like that 5 mark is the worst mark in 3v3. Like once you're down by 5, it's like
yeah. It's
it's such
tough
an uphill
because
battle.
that's a three in a whole nother basket. It's so hard to
That's a
try and
lot of
get stopped.
stops. That's a lot of
Yeah,
stops because the thing is
definitely.
like even if you get like if you like when it gets to like that 17-12 range, you are just like
Oh yeah,
that's like
it's go
hell.
time.
That's
Yeah, it's
hell
go
for
time.
like 3v3. And like every time I see that, like that's when like PG like that's always the make or break it in games. Like that possession, like if you let's say that you have ball and it's 12-17, if you miss on that and like if you miss out on that situation, whether it's offensively or defensively, you lose the game every time.
Right.
Like you have like if the score is that score, you got to make something happen. But
Oh, sure.
regardless, I think for this is did I spell Gazuli's name right, guys? I don't know. I have to go.
I think you did. You might be missing like one eye or something like that, but hey, I think it's fine.
Why y'all feel Doctor Do is better? I feel like Doctor Do had a really good tournament. I think that it was just his. I mean, he went all the way to the finals. I have to respect Doctor Do for what he did, and the guy was freaking like lights out. I mean, he literally. I don't think I saw a bad game besides like later on in the in the tournament. I don't think I really
Yeah,
saw that many bad games from him.
yeah. I don't think personally, skill wise, that um Doctor Do is better than Blix, but if we're ranking like based off the tournament, you got to give respect for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I think,
It goes back to the same kind of situation with Greens.
mhm. But I mean, there's guys that I think in the next tournament that could flip flop this. You know what I mean? You could have a guy that might have traditionally always been good and not played well in this tournament come out in the next
Yeah,
tournament and be great. And like, I really wish that all three tournaments for everybody, and it wasn't just like Steel was like a qualifier just for like EU. I understand why they're doing that, but like,
hmm
I wish they were having like like a qualifier for both still. Like I wish like the EU still had their own separate qualifier, but like the like because like
uh-huh.
only having two tournaments, it's kind of like damn, dude. Like next tournament is your last like your last shot. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, and I think sort of like with it being the first year, I think just the league wanted to.
mhm.
This is just my opinion. I'm not speaking on their behalf, but I think they wanted to just like kind of introduce it and not overwhelm themselves. So I think that's why you didn't really see too many notifications this year. I think it's definitely something that's going to grow over time.
Yeah, I agree. But anyway, guys, this is going to be my top 10 for PGs based off of the Slam qualifiers on the Xbox side for the NBA 2K League.